All right. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 11. We're going to go ahead and read. And we're going to hear things that we've never heard before. And I say we because myself included. You're going to hear things about the scriptures in these meditations, these logic of love meditations in the scriptures. You're going to hear things that probably nowhere else. That's why, hey, like, subscribe, share, comment. This is the hottest thing going on YouTube in terms of the scriptures. I know because I look at other vlogs. And that is not meant to pat myself back on the back or anything else. What it is, just a certain sense of a feeling of a synchronicity and a profound utterance. They call that in spirituality and Christianity and different places an utterance of the Spirit, where the Spirit of revelation is speaking through someone. It's an utterance because we have a natural mind and we can just naturally speak on things all day, but when we have to speak from our spirit, it's a different thing altogether. It's completely different. That's why it's hard for me sometimes to do these vlogs, and every time I sit down to do the vlog, I pretty much there has to be some kind of sense of faith that I'll get anything at all. Because, potential exists, I would just blank and not know what to say. This is Book of Revelation, guys. I mean, people, folks out there go, they would look at it, I don't understand. I'm going to some other book here, John 3:16. Because, anyway, so this is not about boasting or anything. This is encouraging you to have a heart to hear the Spirit. If you're in religion, you have doctrines that are very, very rock solid. Well, just remember there are things called doctrines of devils. And not to say that your doctrines are like that. It's just we have to understand that doctrines in and of themselves are not the truth just because they're a doctrine that people are teaching. We have to allow the Spirit of truth to the Spirit of truth to interpret our doctrines as whether it's true or not. I remember an experience 1 month back in about 2010 where I counted about 21 different doctrines that I had believed hook, line, and sinker. And there were Christian doctrines, even then there were Christian doctrines out there that I didn't feel were true. But there were some like 21 different doctrines that I had accepted as true. And they just, it's like a domino effect. Something happened, something clicked. One thing after another began to click, and I realized, that's not true. The Bible doesn't teach that. Wow. And it's like, this logic of love, this love, John said, what manner of love is this? This love is profoundly beyond what religion or spirituality is even presenting. It's the same kind. It's the same dimension of love. In comparison, if you want to compare it with religion and spirituality, and just again, religion and spirituality is what we see here in the 42 months that I just read. So referring to the last vlog, we have religion and spirituality being referred to. This religion and spirituality, the heights of spirituality. Let me tell you one of the things about the 666. The 666, which is the measure of man. That is 3-pronged sixes, meaning, and it falls short of 7. It falls short of the glory. Now, there's other things to it that it has to do with the Greek alphabet, I think, and there's other things there in that 666 conversation. But just to simplify it, it is below 7. 7 being perfection. It's always falling short. And in the full dimension of man, from top to bottom, fully spiritual, fully religious, fully good, fully wholesome, fully, top to bottom, the greatest of our science and the greatest of our knowledge and the greatest of our understanding and the greatest of our sophistication and the greatest of our success and et cetera, et cetera. The heights of the heights of the heights of the heights, it still falls short. And what all it can hope to do is just trample the outer courts of the temple. It never goes into the holiest of all. It never ventures into the holy place and becomes one, where we see in Book of Revelation There's no more separation between God and man. Absolute oneness through and through. Religion and spirituality never gets there. It can never get there because it's the same comparison as a dead man to a man who rose from the dead. There's a way that seems right to a man, but the end is death. So spirituality and religion can consume us for years and years and years and decades and sometimes centuries and millennia and upon millennia and thousands, even into the 1,000 years. Well, I guess that's what millennia means. It can be years and thousands of years and all kinds of just astronomical amounts of time where knowledge is growing and wisdom ever learning, like Paul talks about ever learning but never coming to the knowing of the truth. It can just mount up into paradigms and be like an abyss, a bottomless pit where there's just constant smoke of religion and spirituality trampling the house of God, and it's just like a smoke, like a fog, and everywhere you look, everybody has a different kind of take on it. And it's never ending until the Lord of the Ages said, enough! And what comes into being is now the exact image of the Father being imaged in mankind, and it's going to be a many-membered company that's going to be the overcomers that take death from creation. And creation moans and groans for the revealing of the sons of love. This is kind of part and parcel of what's happening. There's a moaning and groaning. It's like an inside look into the moaning and groaning to get there. There's trampling going on. There's the dying to self. No longer I who live, but Christ who lives through me. I should read. Okay. This book it's like fire, It's so much love and so much power and so much glory, and it's been totally obliterated. In fact, the book of Revelation is so, if you go to any typical church, you're going to get a lot more life and love out of every other book, but the book of Revelation. Revelation, the way it's being taught, is so completely below the baseline of any kind of spiritual reality, to the point where there's, like I can go to a church, and in most churches you can glean some reality. None comes from this in the way it's being taught. It's a hysterical fantasy that's being taught. It's worse than Greek mythology. It's so completely opposite of everything that shines out of this thing. Because it starts off saying this is a signification of things. It's not the exact things. And all this being taught, see that war happening, see this is happening, see this is the fulfillment of the end times. This is the apocalypse is upon us because of this event and this event. Totally, completely, and absolutely misses the point. 1,000,000%. Spirituality is good in Christianity and in other things, all the way up to the book of Revelation. And then Revelation, the interpretation of just kills everything that's spiritual, just slaughters it. And the only thing left is a mythological book of mythological events that never happened. A few days ago, 2-3 days ago, they said there's going to be a rapture, some folks. Was there? No. Of course not. Absolutely, of course not. Chapter 11. And a reed like a rod was given to me, saying, rise and measure the temple of God and the altar and those worshiping in it. Now, we already read that, but this is a measure. And I've often said that what we really are as mankind is we're unconditional love in the arms of truth. The measure of love here, as it applies to physicality, is the truth. And it's a measure. So some people are obsessed. I've seen people obsessed about unconditional love. They're just talking about it's unconditional love, unconditional love. And it's like, well, try that. in your human experience, in your experience here, spiritual being having a human experience, try to live unconditionally and watch all hell break loose in your life. No, there's a measure. There's restrictions, isn't there? That's not that's conditional. It's the beautiful balance between conditionality and unconditionality. Truth wraps its arms around unconditional love. So in other words, unconditional love, you can go this far, but no farther. Okay? Because we are spirit, yes, but we're coming into a physicality. We're being raised from the dead, even in our physical bodies. And there's this measuring line of what that looks like. What does it look like to be in the image and likeness of? And then after that, we talked a lot about the 42 months, so we'll move on from there. Verse 3, and I will give to my 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy 1,260 days, wrapped around with sackcloth. These are the 2 olive trees, and the 2 minaret that stand in the presence of the master of the earth. And if anyone wants to injure them, fire comes out of their mouth and devours their enemies. And if anyone wants to injure them, he must be killed this way. These have the authority to shut the heavens so that it may not rain in the days of their prophecy, and they have authority over the waters to turn them to blood and to strike the land with every plague as often as they want. And when they finish their testimony, the beast that is coming up out of the abyss will make war with them and will overcome them and kill them, and their dead bodies will be laid upon the street of the great city that spiritually is called Sodom, where their master was also crucified. And they see, or Sodom, and in Mitzrayim, and they see they of the peoples and nations and languages and world ethnicities their dead bodies for 3.5 days, and they do not allow their dead bodies to be put into tombs. And those living upon the land rejoice over them and celebrate, and they will send gifts to one another, because these, the 2 prophets, tormented those living upon the land. Now understand what's happening. We're still talking about what it looks like. We're going to a deeper look at what it looks like. I thought I was going to pass beyond this, but it's coming back to us. It's a deeper look of what it looks like for the Gentiles to be trampling the house of God in the outer courts. This is the continued trampling. These are the 2 witnesses. Where are they out? Out in the streets, out in the outer courts. The 2 witnesses are moving in the outer courts and being trampled, just being destroyed out there. And people are giving each other gifts. Because why? Because this is layer upon layer upon layer, like an onion being peeled back and being peeled back and being peeled back. Because what's happening is the fall of Babylon is what's impending, which is the fall of religion, which is the fall of spirituality, this is what it's looking at. It's looking at Christ. It's a revelation of Christ, and we're also revealing by Christ by what Christ is not. And like John talked about the Antichrist, not in Revelation, interestingly, but in his epistles. So John's talking about what it looks. He's seeing visually what it looks like, it does not look like. This is not about a condemnation of the world. This is about spirituality and religion being measured. Yes. And what's happening is spirituality and religion is out there slaughtering the Word and the Spirit. That's the 2 witnesses. This is a inner work. Where is the scriptures written in? Where it says it's no longer, written in tablets. It's now in the heart. How is this happening? How is this being written in our heart? Warfare, ladies and gentlemen. Warfare. Kingdom of heaven suffers violence. The violent take it by force. There's this nice little writing in there. No, there's a warfare happening. Our own intellect, our own person is out there fighting with ourself. Fighting within the word that's in ourself. And that abyss, there it is. There's religion coming out, the beast out of the abyss. That, ladies and gentlemen, is religion and spirituality. that doesn't have the full measure, the right measure that is Christ, the resurrected Christ. The life and the resurrection is missing from it. It's philosophy. It's oftentimes a rejection of another religion, like the whole religion or the whole spirituality is totally based on rejection of another religion, another spirituality. That's the basis of all of it. It has no life in it, any more than the religion it is opposed to. All right. So we got through verse 10, to be continued. We're in Revelation chapter 11. I got a little bit excitable, didn't I? Well, bye.